Hey guys, I don't know why I didn't think about doing a video until now, but here we go. Okay, here is a 98 Terry that I just purchased. I'm going to do what I would call a tin off restoration. All the exterior wall tin is coming off so I can rebuild any rotted structure and replace probably all the insulation with new, just because, hey, you know, it's 20 years old inside there. Most of it's probably been pretty damp and saturated. It needs a whole new roof. It needs a few other things. It's nice that this is my trailer, so I don't have to worry about anybody being upset about me recording and filming and posting this. But so the issue with this one, I found pretty much right off the hop, it has a ruptured cooling unit. And the way I could tell that is you can see all this wetness down here. You can see little yellow staining and stuff. If you put your face in there, it really stinks really bad. The cooling unit itself has ruptured in the boiler area of the fridge. So quick explanation on how these fridges work. This is totally different technology than your air conditioner or your fridge at home. This is an absorption cooler. What it does is there's a boiler here that when you heat up the mixture enough, it actually evaporates and boils the ammonia mixture, and then it runs up the boiler and into the rest of the cooling unit and in the back of the fridge. You know what? Even better, I have the fridge right here. We can look at the whole thing, right? In and out. That's the back of the fridge. Here's the cooling unit. Same kind of thing happened to this fridge. It's got a ruptured cooling unit. So what happens is it boils the ammonia mixture and it evaporates, and it all travels up into here, and as it travels through here it actually condensates, and there's more to the cooling unit actually inside the cavity of the fridge. It goes in about this deep. That's why you don't have a whole bunch of room inside. They're actually pretty shallow. It's because you have this cooling unit inside this fridge. So this one here in particular actually has a shelf where this is actually part of the cooling unit running inside the freezer and then back down. And then it actually has some fins at the back of the fridge that are actually touching the cooling unit face. And there's like a thermal mastic there that allows, you know, temperature transfer, right? So as this ammonia mixture condensates and turns back into a liquid running down through this cooling unit, it removes the heat from the cabinet. It's not actually creating cold, it's actually absorbing heat, and that's how they get it to cool with propane and an electric heating element. So there's an electric heater in here that when you turn it on, the electric heater should come on and then heat up the boiler to allow it to boil and evaporate. That's how they can get it to run on propane too. There's a propane burner inside of here, which may be easier to see on the other one. So inside this casing here, which I can just take out of the way, is a burner. Hang on. Okay, so I've taken the cover off the back, and you can really see the ammonia now. It's yellow. So inside, underneath this cover, there is a propane burner. So it does exactly the same thing as the electric heating element does. It heats up the boiler to allow it to vaporize the ammonia mixture inside. That's why when you put it on automatic, it'll automatically know that the circuit board itself knows that you have 120 volt AC. As long as you have 12 volt DC power feeding it, because everything runs on 12 volt first in an RV, it knows that it has 110, and it will supply power to the electric heater as long as the heater's working. If you get unplugged or something, or you switch it, whatever you want to do, but if you get unplugged, it'll go to gas, and when it gets plugged back in, it goes automatically back over to AC. Always picks AC first, provided everything's working. But the reason I actually decided to do this video was because when I opened up this recall kit, Dometic had a recall on over 2 million fridges, and these recall kits were actually installed to allow a firebox around the boiler area, so that if anything went wrong with the cooling unit while it was running on propane, it would contain any flame and prevent it from actually catching the coach on fire, which happened to a lot of people, which is the whole reason for the recall. But what I've seen wrong off the hop right away was this recall kit wasn't even installed properly. This thermal switch, thermal disc, has a reset on it, which is actually mounted to, there's an insulation inside of where the boiler is, and it's actually, you know, mounted to this outside casing that holds the insulation in. And then it's supposed to go to this thermal fuse, which is fine. It does go to the thermal fuse, but this thermal fuse should be way down here by the firebox. So that way, if there ever is a fire around the burner, and it's not going up the flue, but it's like around the burner, and it's actually, you know, catching things on fire, it's supposed to pop this fuse to shut the board off so that it's no longer feeding propane into the burner. So, you know, here's a recall that has to be done on millions of units, and for some reason they're not even putting them in right. But luckily, you know, when this ruptured, it didn't actually catch any of this mixture, we'll say, on fire. Probably it was on AC when it did rupture. You know, they don't all light on fire, but there's a reason for a recall. So if you do have one of these, it might be a good idea to take this outside cover off and inspect to make sure that they've actually done this properly. This should be mounted under here with this actually folded in half and in this bracket like this. Right? I folded it in half, I stuck it in the bracket, you know, you squish the bracket back over it like that, whatever. And then that thing, the whole bracket, should be mounted so that the thermal fuse here is actually in behind the burner. It's supposed to be a thermal cutoff for if anything happened to the fridge while it was operating. Probably even see, I mean, the kit is pretty much in the right spot. But if you look on this piece that actually wraps around the boiler chamber right here, if you look real close, there is a pair of little itty bitty little holes. They look like they're the exact same distance apart as those two screws in the bracket. So how do you get it wrong? You know, people make sure this is right, because if this doesn't shut off and this ignites when you're running on propane, driving down the road, you're gonna have big problems. Much more problems than you'd want to have. Take care, friends.